it's SJ again. We're here looking at the brush tool in this tutorial. This is, I guess, I feel like the most important parts of digital painting is learning how to utilize different brushes and when certain brushes make more sense than others. So I've gone ahead and I've kind of organized my layers a little bit more. So I've added different folders for the neck and the head, and within each folder I've got my base color, and I'm going to add a shadow layer, a texture layer, and a highlight layer. Going into my brushes, if I actually right click, I'm able to see a brushes menu, and yours might not look the same because I have loaded many different brushes, but Adobe actually comes with all of the Kyle brushes now, so you can just go to adobe.com and you should be able to upload whatever brushes you want. You can import brushes by just clicking on that little settings thing, and your brushes files will look like this, ABR files. So just to start, I'm going to use just a hard brush and show you what that looks like. My shadows. This is changing the size, so I have it set on my Wacom tablet, but the key strokes are just the square brackets. Either way is making it larger and smaller. If you push I, you can just kind of click on various colors within your page and you'll be able to just pick up that specific color. I've created a palette layer for colors that I kind of liked, and so that way they're easily accessible and I can keep things relatively consistent. So if I go into my shadow layer, paint just a rough shadow. And if you remember before from the layers tutorial, I showed you how to create clipping masks, and that way it will only show up where the head painting has been. So there's just a quick way of doing block shadows with a harder brush. So aside from right clicking to be able to see your brushes, you can also just use one of the windows. You can click on brushes, and I have that accessible right here as well. So this is my brushes, and this is my brush settings. A lot of different styles can be created within the brush settings. It's probably endless. I don't tend to use them a lot now because I've already set up a lot of my favorite brushes. But in the beginning, it'll be important for you to try to figure out what types of brushes you need, which ones you can download, and what you find most useful. I felt like when I was using a lot of the preset brushes within Photoshop, I had to fix sometimes the spacing. I don't usually like when the spacing is more than 1%. It takes up more memory, but if you notice, you'll kind of, when you zoom in, if your spacing is too high, you'll end up with these kind of bumpy lines, which I am not that excited about. So yeah, I usually bring that way down. So that's my hard brush with 1% spacing. So my airbrush is just a soft brush, and I'm going to make it a little bit larger. Come in here, and you'll see that it just kind of smooths out this like hard edge. I'm going to go back in and actually use my eraser tool with the airbrush now. So brushes and an eraser, they kind of go hand in hand. I mean, that's the benefit of painting digitally, is that there's nothing that you can put down that you can't get rid of if you've layered things properly. So I've just gone ahead and added some highlights in on my highlight layer. But one thing that I wanted to mention was this tool up here, which basically allows your brush, whatever brush you have, to register the pressure that you're pushing on your pen. So as I mentioned before, I am using a tablet, so they are pressure sensitive. They can also be tilt sensitive as well. So when you're using different brushes, for example, this one, just make a new layer, it will register how hard you're pushing and either make it lighter or darker. or say for this brush, it will make it thinner or thicker, as well as lighter. So I actually wanted to give a bit more instruction on brush settings and how to adjust various brushes. So you have your brush panel here again, but your brush settings, I'm going to just drag it out and make it a little bit larger so you can see a bit better. So I'll just grab a regular brush, the regular hard brush, and you can see you can just kind of change the size very easily here rather than using the shortcut that I typically use. But shape dynamics is great because it is what gives you control when you're using a pen. So I want to use pen pressure. And that's going to make sure that when I'm pushing softly, I get a small tip, and when I'm pushing hard, I get my thickest diameter. And so if we go back to this main tip shape, you'll see that this is where we control the hardness. So I really wanted an airbrush, I would change this hardness to 0. If I really wanted it to be a clean line, I would change this to 100%. So those are the brush settings, and hopefully that gives you a better sense of how you could change and modify your brushes if you feel like you're up to that, or if you just want to use the presets, that's okay too. So I've actually just gone ahead and kept painting and layering up my textures and various different colors and adding things in. And so you can see I've used all different clipping masks to help with this process, different edge highlights. I can test whether or not I like them at various opacities. So what I wanted to show you was more about textured brushes. So I kind of just showed you some basic brushes, a hard brush, an airbrush, but there's actually a lot more stylized brushes that can help you achieve really cool textured effects. So a lot of the ones that I use are within the watercolor set that is brought to you by Kyle Brushes. He makes a lot of really, really amazing brushes. I remember when you actually had to buy them, but now Adobe has acquired them, so they actually just come with the Adobe suite, which is really great. Yeah, that's just adding textures, colors with the brush tool, and I hope you found that helpful. Thanks. For more tips and tricks and to connect with the Biocomm Hive community, please check out the Facebook group. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to follow Create to Learn on Instagram and #Create to Learn for more tutorials.